Hello, welcome to the premiere episode of Pins as Needles podcast. I struggled with calling it an episode because episode implies that I'm going to have more than one, and I can't really make any commitments right now. I'll share that in a little bit when I tell you more about my charity marathon. But anyway, I've had a lot of finished objects that I've been working hard on that are all going to get given away. So I wanted to put a video together to document the process of my marathon and tell you a little bit about it. So it is New Year's Day, 2016, and in the last 6 months I have been working on putting together a marathon's worth of yarn. I've been knitting, crocheting, putting things together to give away to charity. So this all started my last birthday, which was January 31st. I had a really horrible birthday and I was in a horrible mood and I was really sad and I just felt really down, and I kind of struggled with that for like 6 months. And on July 31st of last year, 2015, I'm just like sick of feeling sick and tired. So what can I do to make myself feel better and to do something with my life? And I think that when people struggle with like if your life is really focused on work and work is not going well, then you tend to your whole life feels like it's not going well. So I wanted something to focus on outside of work that would make me feel better and would make other people feel better. So knitting and crocheting has always been a kind of therapy for me, and helping other people always makes me feel good. So without really realizing how much I was committed to, I just said I'm going to make a marathon of yarn for charity. And that's what I've been working on. So as of this episode, I am 9.3 miles into my charity marathon, which means I'm 35% of the way done. And not counting my finished objects that I'll be sharing with you today, I've donated 139 items to people. So it feels pretty great. I'm really proud of myself because I have been knitting and crocheting since I can remember. So I started crocheting when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, and then when I was in 4th grade, I was cast as Mrs. Claus in the Christmas play, and I took my role very seriously. And in my script it said, "Enter Ms. Claus knitting," and I just had to learn how to knit because that's what it said I would do. So I did, and I've been knitting and crocheting ever since. However, I've always been really interested in starting big projects, but I have been horrible at finishing them. So in the last 6 months, I have finished more projects than I have in my entire life. And I have been knitting, crocheting, sewing, all of those things, like I said, since I was like 7 years old or something. So it's been great. So a little bit about my marathon. A question I get a lot is, how do I calculate yardage? And for the most part, I just, when I finish a ball of yarn, I just write down the label. And I have a pretty massive spreadsheet that kind of keeps track of all of that. Just recently, I'll share with you a little bit later, I have been unraveling thrifted sweaters. And for that, I put everything into a 100-yard little cake, and then I would record it as it goes, or whatever. So I'll share that a little bit later. Anyway, so that's how I calculate my yardage. I keep track of it on a spreadsheet and so on. So a little bit more about me, because I guess being that this is an episode now, it's like a premiere episode, so I can tell you a bit about myself. I'm from rural Iowa, and I am multi-craftual, which is, I think, a term that Jenny from Tiny Paper Foxes made up. And I knit, I crochet, I sew, kind of. I don't sew quite as much. I do have a finished quilt to share with you today. And I have a stressful job that I drive a long way to get to. So knitting and crocheting is kind of my way to wind down a bit. I don't have a lot of real life friends who knit and crochet, at least not quite as crazy about it as I am. So as I've been really spending a lot of time knitting and crocheting this last 6 months, I've been watching YouTube videos and I found knitting podcasts, and I've been watching them and loving them, and it's kind of fun to have a community of people who have similar interests. So not like they're like real life friends, but I've slowly started to join Ravelry groups, which is something I haven't done. I don't really keep track of stuff on Ravelry except to take advantage of all the awesome free patterns that people make available. And anyway, so it's fun to kind of have community, and that's something that I'm working on doing, is branching out a bit and getting to know people a bit. So anyway, I can go ahead and move on to finished objects. Like I said, I have been watching, I just figured out this knitting podcast thing in the last like 2 months or so. So I am not at all prepared to have a podcast. This is like an old phone that I'm recording on, so that's why the quality probably isn't great. Sound quality is probably not awesome. I haven't had a chance to test it out yet. But just in this last week, I've been off work, and I have been able to finish a lot of things. And because I'm doing my marathon, they're all getting given away, so I want to have some way to document them. So anyway, finished objects in no particular order. One of the first things that I made, and all of my work is going to be covered with dog fur. So obviously I wash and dry and clean all of the items before I give them away, because a lot of the things that I do are given to hospitals and things, and obviously you can't have pet fur on them. So please forgive me for that. Also, a lot of the things that I make are in acrylic, which since I've been watching knitting podcasts, I've been incredibly jealous of all of the pretty yarn acquisitions and stuff. But as far as acrylic goes, I really enjoy using Hobby Lobby's I Love This Yarn, and I do love the yarn. It's really soft. So sometimes if I donate to NICUs and things like that, they require to have soft yarn. So anyway, like I said, when I calculate yardage for my marathon, I go by the yarn label. So I have been making lots of things without having the yardage calculated. So on Christmas, I went through and picked up all of the little things that hadn't been calculated yet and just made a bunch of scrappy hats. So this is one of my first ones that I made. This is just a basic double crochet hat, but I did a little variation in the stitch, so I alternated between a single crochet, half double crochet, and double crochet to get a little bit of a wave in there. So this uses Knit Picks Brava worsted weight, and it's in the cobblestone heather and the cream color, and then this orange is orange from I Love This Yarn by Hobby Lobby. And it was a really, like I said, just double crochet hat, but adding that wave in it was a nice touch. The next one that I did, I thought this is also using the cobblestone heather and the cream from Knit Picks Brava worsted weight, and I got this idea from the free pattern Worm, but I wanted to use a worsted weight. So when you put it all together, it's a fun hat. So you have the ribs going in this direction, and I made it with a little bit of a slouch so that when you wear it, the dark stripes show on top, but then it all bunches up on the bottom. So anyway, this is an adult size hat that will get donated somewhere that an adult might need it. Again, in acrylic. This one, I had good intentions. I made lots of purple hats this year. I donate to Click for Babies for their Purple Period of Crying campaign. So much dog fur. Always the dog fur. Anyway, so I donate to Click for Babies Purple Period of Crying. It is to prevent shaken baby syndrome. So when people are in the hospital, they learn a curriculum about preventing shaken baby syndrome, and then they get to take a purple hat home. But the hats have to be at least 50% purple, and I ran out of purple. So this is just a fun little baby hat. This is also my first hat, attempt at making a pom-pom. As you can see, I didn't do so hot. I have some other projects where I got better. So anyway, my first attempt, just basic double crochet hat. This was a really fun pattern. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. It's called Brainwaves, and I can't think of the designer right now, so I will link that in show notes, which makes me sound like I'm such a professional podcaster. But I do have a blog. It's at pinsesneedles.com, and I just started it when I did my marathon. So far, all I've done is just shared some free baby hat patterns and things. So anyway, I'll make show notes. I'll link them below. So Brainwaves beanie. It's really easy to make as long as you follow the pattern very carefully. And as you can see, it makes a fun design. I was talking to my brother-in-law, who is really like snowboarding. He's a senior in high school. And the big crazy hat that was really popular that I made him a couple years ago, he can't wear anymore because you have to wear helmets now. So it's popular now to have really close-fitting hats that fit under a helmet. And so this would be an excellent pattern if you were making that for someone. Mine is going to get donated somewhere where someone needs it, not him, but this is definitely a pattern that I would make again. And it's nice unisex styling, so it's good for donating. This is using, again, the cobblestone heather, the ivory from Brava, and then this is my favorite eggplant color. It's called purple from Hobby Lobby's. I love this yarn. Then I had a ball of Vanna's Choice yarn, and I know that Vanna's Choice is really popular among crocheters, and I don't love it. It's a little scratchier than I love this yarn, but it's also a little more expensive. So I'm going to stick to I love this yarn, but this did come in a lovely colorway. And of course, now I'm not going to remember what the colorway is called. But anyway, I can link that in the show notes. And what I did here, just a basic double crochet hat, and then I did a kind of basket weave pattern. And then this, the white part is Ivory by I Love This Yarn, which sounds funny when you say that a lot, but I really do love the yarn. And in that same colorway, I did a just little toddler size hat is probably what this would fit. Another basic double crochet hat, and I did the same thing of making the little waves of the varying the single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, and then I added a little scallop edge along the bottom too for a little extra detail. So I used up that ball of yarn. And then I had a green ball of Vanna's Choice to get used up. And once again, I'm using the Cobblestone Heather and the cream colorway from Bravo Worsted. And this one is just a basic half double crochet hat, but then when I went to do the increases, I did a front post double crochet. This is not a pattern, just something I whipped up. But anyway, I just continued that front post double crochet throughout the body, and then I ended with just a row of plain half double crochet, and this will be an adult hat for donation. This one also used the green, and this probably could have been an adult size hat if you stretched it a bit, and but with this plaid pattern thing that I attempted, it made it really tight. So this is the Vanna's Choice green, and I can't think of what the green is actually called, and the cream and Cobblestone Heather. And with the exception of this guy, this used a J hook. I use an H hook for pretty much everything that I do as far as crocheting with worsted weight yarn. This one is my second attempt at a pom-pom, also hopelessly sad. But this is the Leaping Blocks and Stripes pattern from Moogly. And I have made lots of little hats that I already donated, so I don't have good examples of them, but you can follow me on Instagram where I've shared those. My Instagram name is Pins Needles. And my name, did I say my name is Kayla Pins? Hello, I'm Kayla Pins. And Pins is my married last name, but it just is really fun because it has lots of crafting connotations that go with that. But anyway, so this is my beanie that I made, and this is not the exact Moogly pattern, but I'll show you the Afghan that I'm working on that uses that pattern, and I just kind of incorporated that into this hat. I had some brown left over from when I made little football hats for the Cyhawk Challenge for the University of Iowa NICU, and I used, this is called Antique Teal, I believe, and then brown and ivory. And this is a nice adult size hat with a kind of sad little pom-pom. I should mention too that when I do make pom-poms, I'll show you my more successful ones in a little bit here, but I hot glue in the middle, and I find that that's really great because I machine wash and dry the hats that I make before I donate them, because like I said, dog fur is a problem that I have. Also they smell really nice when I give them away. So anyway, I find that pom-poms just go all over the place, so hot gluing really keeps them together nicely. This one is, like I said, I record for my marathon, I record the yarn after I finish the ball, but I still usually have like a couple of yards left at the end of every ball that it's not really enough to start a new project with, but it's also not enough to just throw in my scrap jar. So this hat is just a really basic, I used number 11 needles. I used 2 strands held together of my ivory and brown. And then this color stripe in the middle is, as you can tell, scraps of the green and of the yellow held with a strand of the brown. So I truly used up every little last bit. This is based, I made a lot of, I don't know how to pronounce it, Sandoval hats. Robin Devine of She Makes Hats on Instagram, and she has, she's on Ravelry, she has Make, Give, Repeat, she's a contributor to that site as well. Anyway, she has set a lifetime goal to donate 10,000 hats to charity, and she wrote an excellent charity knitting pattern, which is called, I think it's the Sandoval hat. Anyway, it's really stretchy. So hers uses worsted weight and has a brim that folds up, but that's kind of where I got the idea to make a really stretchy hat. And this is nice for donating because it could fit a child or an adult, depending on how far you stretched it. Anyway, so this is my big Christmas knitting, crocheting stack that I just wanted to get rid of all of the leftover little bits so that I could tally up lots of yardage. And after doing that, I've done almost 2 miles in the last week, which is crazy a lot. Usually I don't do that much. So anyway, I did all that, but since I've been watching knitting podcasts and such, acrylic is not as much fun. I really wanted to get my hands on some of the pretty yarns that the people on the podcast have been using. But because I am knitting in the quantity that I am for my marathon, I can't afford the quality. So Emily's Hats for Hope, which I think that's her Instagram handle as well, Emily's Hats for Hope. She is a college student that donates thousands of hats to homeless people living in New Jersey. Anyway, she posted a video on her Facebook page about a man that unravels yarn from thrifted sweaters. And I don't know how I forgot this, but I used to do that in college to get nice yarn. You buy nice sweaters that are, you know, fairly ugly but have good quality yarn, and you wind them up and use that as your yarn. I can't believe I forgot it, but anyway, I went thrifting and I found some really great sweaters. So that's what my next 2 projects are made from. First, I got this gray sweater, and it has tiny little threads throughout of different colors that are really fun. So it makes it better than just your average gray. And then I found this turquoise yarn to work with it, or teal. I don't know what you would call it, but it definitely has like a green tint to it, and it just matches, they just match perfectly. So anyway, I was really happy to find those. And when you're buying sweaters that you intend to pull apart for using the yarn, you want to avoid sweaters that have serged edges. And I forgot to check that on this one, so I didn't get very much. Didn't get very much yarn out of it, because if it serges the edge, then it means that every piece of yarn is only going to be like a yard long. And I just don't feel like working with that many knots. But anyway, I used these two yarns together to do a chevron hat. So this is a free crochet pattern that I have on my blog. It's super easy. It's just a basic double crochet hat, but because you put the stitches in groups of 2, it makes a little chevron design. And this is my excellent little pom-pom that I finally got figured out. Part of it's nice is that when you unravel thrifted yarn, you get these little like ramen noodle-y bits to work with. So it makes really fluffy pom-poms. But the other thing I started doing is wrapping the pom-poms around mason jar lids. So this one was made with a, I just wrapped it around a mason jar lid. Like I said, I use hot glue to kind of keep everything together. It makes a really cute little pom-pom. And this is using my thrifted yarn. And then I also knit a hat out of the same 2 yarns. And this is Must Have Plaid. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. And it uses the mosaic stitch, which I really like to use. I've done a lot of projects with it, and I'll show you that in the afghan that I finished as well. I think it's Vicki Howell made this one. Free pattern. Anyway, that'll be a fun one to donate as well. I can see maybe a teenager liking this. I would like it for myself. I kind of intended on keeping it, but I just need my mileage. So I'm gonna still donate it. There's plenty more of a year left, so. So that's it for hats. This afghan is covered with fur. I finished it fairly recently. I haven't found a good place to donate it yet because it ended up a little small. So some projects like Project Linus, for example, is a really well-known organization that you can donate afghans to. Anyway, they require that there are at least 36 inches, whereas this blanket is 24 by 36. And a detail of it. So this is the front. If you look at the back, it doesn't look too bad from there either. This is just a basic garter stitch afghan that I made in I Love This Yarn from Hobby Lobby, worsted weight, and it uses this gray color is called graphite, purple, ivory, key lime, graphite, orange, and then ivory again. And all that you do is I just use the mosaic stitch, which is where you slip one stitch both on the front side and on the back side, and then you just knit the next row. Anyway, it makes a really nice little transition between the colors, and it was really easy. So this is what I might refer to as my television knitting, or my social knitting, and this is where, so I am always knitting or crocheting all the time, and some people don't understand that you can knit and crochet and still function. They think that it just requires all of your concentration. So this is an example of a project that I would use if I need to be making eye contact with people, because I can knit in garter stitch without looking. Purling is harder, and you definitely have to keep an eye on crochet. So that's that. And I have a quilt to show for finished objects. This has actually been finished for quite a while, and I'll have to insert a picture of what it looks like completed, because obviously my frame for my camera is too small right now. But I made this a while ago, and it is machine quilted by my mom. But it, obviously I really like the chartreuse color. But it is made from a linen and cotton fabric from Moda. So I just sewed scraps together, and it came out to be kind of a modern looking kind of a quilt, and kind of plain. But as you can see, she just really rocked on the machine quilting. She did little pebbles, little loopy things. And then after you Here, I'll turn it over so you can really see it. Anyway, she just did awesome. The machine quilting just completely brought this quilt together, and it's gorgeous. And it's getting passed along to my friend who is due any day. Well, technically she's due on the 4th. She has an appointment to be induced on the 4th. But it could happen any day. So I just wanted to share this because I will never, well, I hope to see it again when I go visit her sometime. But like I said, it's getting given away, so I wanted to kind of document it. So move on to share some of my works in progress. Now that I'm a member of this knitting podcast community, I am participating in my first knit along. So Eric of Sticks Plus Twine is doing a knit along of 2 men's accessories. So that's something I can do and donate. So I have cast on the antler hat by Tin Can Knits, and it is in this wool acrylic cotton blend that I thrifted. I bought a sweater for like, it was half off, so I think I paid like $2 for it, and I unraveled it and I got 1,400 yards out of it for like $2. So anyway, it's a really nice fluffy yarn. It's knitting up really well. I have a really loose gauge, so I just finished the ribbing, and that's on size 4 US or 3.5 millimeter needles. So Tin Can Knits did a 12 Days of Christmas giving where they gave away free patterns, which was so very generous of them. And I'm going to take advantage of that by making their antler hat and mittens for my charity marathon and participate in my very first knit along. And those will be passed along somewhere. There is in a town that's close to me, so Dubuque, Iowa. It's about 45 minutes away, and they have like a men's transitional housing place that I think a nice pair of hats and mittens would be appreciated. Another Tin Cans Knit pattern that I'm working on is the flax sweater, and it's so cute. I'm making the baby, the 1-year-old sweater, and this is in Cascade Avalon, and it is half cotton, half acrylic, and I can't remember what this one is called, what the colorway is called. Anyway, fun story on this yarn. Like I love shopping at thrift shops, and I love having nice yarn, so sometimes it's hard to do both. But I was in Goodwill, and they had like a hand wrapped ball of yarn and then 4 skeins like this, all crumpled up really tightly in this plastic bag that was then wrapped with packaging tape. It was almost indistinguishable. But I saw a little Cascade yarn tag, so I bought it for $3. So I got almost 5 skeins of yarn for $3 of this gorgeous stuff that will be perfect for baby knits. So like I said, this is the flax sweater by Tin Can Knits. Was a free pattern. I think it is actually still a free pattern. It's part of their series of how to learn to knit, and they do such a great job on explaining instructions. I'm really impressed with their patterns, both in doing the antler hat and the flax sweater, that I will certainly purchase patterns from them in the future. Anyway, so that's that. As you can see, I need to add sleeves. And the reason I haven't yet is because I don't own a yarn swift. My yarn swift is my husband, so he holds the yarn as I wind it. And he has not been available for me to get my new yarn wound up. So anyway, I'm gonna add sleeves on this, and this is going to go to Lutheran World Relief. They make layette kits to send overseas and such. So this will get a sweet little sweater. Usually their layette kits, they like to have things that are hooded, but they don't mind if you have a little hat. So I'll be making this sweater and then probably a matching hat to go in the kit as well. So that will be for Lutheran World Relief. I got a little excited for Black Friday shopping. and I ordered like 9 pounds of yarn from Joann's Fabric, and then I got it and it was worsted weight, and I had been expecting sport weight because one of the charities that I donate to requires that you use sport weight for their it's, why am I drawing a blank? The Preemie Project. I do work for the Preemie Project, and they do grievance packages, and not grievance, that's the wrong word. No, I think that's what they call it. Anyway, they give blankets to parents who have lost a baby, and they want the things to be very soft and fine. Well, anyway, I got my yarn that I had ordered and intended, and the yarn is off-white and it is worsted weight. And I think I had known that when I ordered it, and then I must have misunderstood their instructions. So anyway, I have 9 pounds of yarn that I don't especially love. So I was going to return, but apparently if you order on Joann's online, you can't return it to the store. So I don't care to pay for the shipping. So I'm just like, fine, I will just use it. And so I have. And I have been making this afghan, which I am very happy with. It's turning out quite well. So it's just a really simple bobble double crochet afghan. And I'm just knitting. Sorry, I'm not knitting. I'm crocheting. So it is Pound of Love by Lion Brand yarn. And this is in the antique white colorway. And I just chained 184 and have been working in that stitch pattern, which is from my Reader's Digest Complete Guide to Needlework, which is the very best book for learning how to knit, crochet, all that other stuff. That's actually how I taught myself when I was a kid how to, I kind of retaught myself how to crochet and knit. And that was pre-YouTube, so it's good instructions. Anyway, so just a plain afghan that I'm working on. This used a pound of yarn so far, and it'll use another pound before it's done. So I'm also, like I said earlier when I was talking about my hat, let me see. Ugh. Okay. So this hat, the Leaping Stripes and Blocks design from Moogly, they have a afghan pattern, and I have been working on that as well. And I'm using a H hook on this. So this is done in the Antique Teal, Key Lime, and Orange from the Hobby Lobby I Love This Yarn. And I really love the design. It's easy. It looks like it could be complicated, but it's just a double crochet chain 2 across, and same on the way back. But you you grab this little chain 2 loop as you crochet, so it makes a Leaping Stripes and Blocks pattern. And it looks nice from both sides. So anyway, a great afghan for donating. So that's about all I have to share for all of my finished objects and works in progress. I have no idea how long this video has lasted. So I'm going to work on wrapping it up because I feel like I might have been rambling. Something that people are doing on their knitting podcast is talking about their knitting and crocheting goals. Well, mostly knitting. There's not very many crochet podcasts. But anyway, their goals for the year. And I work as a teacher, so my life kind of goes on a school year schedule. So like I said, July 31st was kind of my day to start my marathon. So obviously this year I will be continuing my marathon. I really want to finish it within the year. Something I've been struggling with though is elbow pain. So if I crochet too much, so crocheting uses up the most yardage and you get the most stuff done in a short amount of time. But it hurts my elbow. So I have been cross training because knitting hurts this elbow. But anyway, I've been taking breaks as needed and stretching and being a little more kind to myself and being a little more conscious of how I'm sitting and things like that. So anyway, that said, I really want to finish my marathon within a year, so by July 31st. Another goal I have for the year, and one of the reasons why my goals tend to run on an academic calendar, is because I like bringing things to the state fair, well, to the county fair. I haven't brought things to the state fair yet. So like I said, I'm from Iowa, and our state fair is pretty awesome, and I've always wanted to show something at the state fair. So my goal for this year, and I feel really weird putting it on camera because I'm really bad at making commitments, but I would like to have an Afghan for every category that the Iowa State Fair has. So obviously I'll be bringing stuff to my county fair as well. But so my video camera made a sound that makes me think I was talking too much. So we'll see how much it caught, and I'll continue talking about my goals, which are to have, in the next 6 months, to have 5 Afghans ready to bring to the Iowa State Fair. So they require, well, the categories available is a baby Afghan, a shell Afghan, a ripple Afghan, a granny square Afghan, and an other. So there's lots and lots of charities that accept Afghans. So it's a perfect opportunity for me to meet my goal of having an Afghan for every category at the state fair, but then also sticking with the goals of my marathon. I'm also going to make socks for my mom. I've never actually knit an entire pair of socks. So I have made probably like 5 socks, but none of them match each other. Like I said, I'm horrible at finishing things, so this marathon has been awesome for me for getting finished projects, but in the past, not so great. And I would like to make my mom a pair of socks because she really loves hand knit things, and I never know what to get her for a gift. So I told her forever and definitely I will make her a pair of socks for her birthday. So hopefully she likes them, and I never have to think again of what I should get her or not. And the other thing is that once my marathon is done, I am going to make really frivolous, fiddly bits. So I'm really looking forward to just crocheting doilies, which makes me sound super nerdy. But after making so much acrylic worsted weight yarn stuff, I just want to make frivolous, tiny, fiddly little bits. So making a doily, I'd really like to crochet a tablecloth, things like that. So that's my goals of the year, and that's my first podcast. When I was making my notes, I didn't really think about how I was going to end it. So I will end by hoping someone watches. Thank you very much if you made it all the way through, and maybe sticking around. Like I said, I'm not going to commit to anything new like a podcast series, but hopefully there'll be an episode 2 coming up sometime. And yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram, is where I do most of my sharing with my knitting and crochet and sewing and stuff, and that's at Pins's Needles. I also have a blog at Pins's Needles. I don't blog a lot, I mostly just share stuff on Instagram, but I do share some free patterns on pinsneedles.com, and I'm on Ravelry and YouTube at Kayla Reve. So I look forward to meeting you. Thanks so much for sticking around. Thanks so much for sticking around. Anyway, have a very happy new year. Thank you very much.